Storytelling is an art form that has been around since the dawn of man. These days, it seems like we get most of our stories from books, TV, movies, or true crime podcasts, but we seldom get to hear stories from the people who actually live them. I believe that everyone has at least one great story that only they can tell. Maybe it's a scary story about when someone broke in your house and you had to hide under the coffee table and pray that they didn't find you, or the amazing senior prank you pulled in high school, or the time you discovered a secret passage under the stairs. My best story is dedicated to discovering these stories and releasing them into the wild, one guest at a time. I'm Travis Tidmore. Join me as I discover Danny Johnson's best story. We had some technical difficulties with this episode, but I still wanted to release the story. There will be a short segment where the video freezes, but the sound does not. Hopefully you'll stick with it because I think it's a good one. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's really fun to be here with you today, Travis.
Well, thank you. Danny, tell us a little bit about your backstory.
I'm an actor here living in New York City. I work on some popular television shows that people have enjoyed for years, like Daredevil, Luke Cage, were two shows that sort of breakout hits for myself. But, I work on a bunch of shows. Right now I'm working on this show called For Life, which is in its first season on ABC. And I'm working on another show called The Flight Attendant for HBO. I was just saying how, I've done a lot of television series and here in New York and worked through the theater and stuff like that. I grew up in Indiana, and then I lived in Chicago for about 10 years, and my work in Chicago brought me to New York. And so I've been here, I guess, now for quite a while, since '93.
Oh, excellent. Well, Danny, what is your best story?
Well, I'm going to go back to I think it was 2016. And, I have a lot of artist friends, who are involved in, music and theater and dance. And I also have a lot of visual artist friends. And one of my really great friends lives in Denver. So I was going to, I think it was 2016, I was going to a film festival in Vail, Colorado, the Vail International. And I reached out to my friend and said, hey, I'm coming to Vail. Do you want to come up to the film festival, hang out for the weekend? He's like, yeah, absolutely. It'd be great. I've got, I'll pick you up at the airport. We'll go out the next day. I said, fantastic. I said, you're good. Car and everything is great. He's like, yeah, man, I got a car. We're great. And, now I hadn't really visited him before in Denver. And I kind of thought he's got his whole thing sorted and everything's kind of he's got a, stable thing for himself. And he did have a stable thing for himself, but it really wasn't quite his own thing. It was like the basement of his friend's place where he was staying. And, the car was like this 91 Ford Bronco kind of situation, So I'm thinking to myself, hey, do you need me to rent a car? Because I can rent a car real easy. It's no problem. He's like, no. The car is set. I might need you to sponsor me, up at Vail. I'm like, hey, no problem. It's like I'll get a hotel. We can stay in the hotel. There'll be lots of parties and stuff. We'll eat their food, drink their beer, and it'll be great. And then, anything else, I got you. So he picks me up at the airport. And, it's all smiles. Everything is great. We get out to the parking garage. He goes to turn the car over and the car won't start. It's like dead. And I'm like, well, this isn't the greatest start. And he's like, well, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Don't worry. We'll get it jumped. I'm like, okay. And he starts asking people who are walking by, have you got any jumper cables? No. But one of them says, hey, they have a guy. They have a little cart. They come around. They've got these battery chargers, and they'll charge up your car battery. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, great, this is wonderful, But sure enough, the guy comes and charges up the battery, and the car is rolling. While we're rolling, I'm like, wow, this is the car we're taking to Vail. Maybe we should just get a rental. He's like, no, it'll be fine. The rental car is going to cost like a bunch of money. And look, all I need is like a $75 battery. We'll go to AutoZone. So we leave the airport, we go to AutoZone. We go into AutoZone, and the $75 battery turns out to be like $140. And he's like, oh, wow, it's $140. Can you float me this $140 so I can get this battery? And I'm like, well, the rental car, you sure? Because he's like, look, this is the only thing. The car is great. It's fine. I ride this thing all the time. Sure. Here, yeah, we put a battery in his car. I put a battery in his car. We go to his house. We spend the night. The next day, we're getting ready to go up to Vail. And we go up to Vail. And, we go to the film festival. We watch my movie. I think it was maybe one of the first times he'd seen a bunch of television stuff I did. But, he's like one of my childhood friends, and, we're at a film festival. And he's like, oh my God, DJ's in this movie. So we had a great time watching the film. We're going to parties, and he's, meeting folks, and it's just fantastic. Sunday, it's time to come back down to Denver. And, we're in Colorado. It's all, mountains. It's, mile high. Everything is literally a mile high. And we're on this mountain, driving back down from Vail, when he's like, driving the car, and he's like, I don't know, something's a little funky here. It's not really kind of going the way I thought, and there's some kind of rattling, and I don't feel like the wheel is good. I'm like, I'm just like, on my phone, I'm like, what? Yeah, it'll be fine, And then all of a sudden, we feel like this boom. And he's like trying to keep the car on the road. And we are in now, a 2-lane highway on a mountain, and the mountain, there's traffic. It's Sunday morning. A lot of people are heading back down to Denver,
Yeah.
And, we're at a point when this happens that we are actually on a bridge. We're on a bridge, maybe the bridge is, 200 yards long or 150 yards long or something like that, on a bridge above a riverbed with no water in it, nothing but rocks.
Awesome.
And the car, he can't control. He can't keep the car in his lane. He starts to kind of go over to this other lane. He's fighting to keep it back into this lane. And then finally we get off the bridge, and there's like some runoff area on the sides of the road. We were in the right lane. Now we're in the left lane because he can't keep it in the right lane. And, the runoff is such that we are now off the road in the ditch. He gets the car to a stop. We're fishtailing the whole way, like rumbling and fishtailing and, saying Hail Marys. And then we get out the car and look, and the front wheel, the left front driver's wheel, has separated from the axle. If this is the axle, the car is supposed to be perpendicular to that. And when the wheel is supposed to be perpendicular to it. When we get over there and take a look, get out the car and take a look, the wheel is like this.
Oh,
okay?
No.
Like at something like a 40-degree angle, and that's not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And my friend is like, oh my God, what do we just do? Oh, Jesus, made it. Wow, I don't know what. Oh my God, we're all like, we're both just like, what happened? How are we alive? How did we survive this?
Yeah.
And we get out of the car, we look at the thing, and he's just like, wow, wow, this is terrible. He looks at me and he's like, have you got AAA? I said, no, I don't have AAA. I don't have a car. I live in New York City. I don't have a car. I don't have AAA. What are you talking about? Oh man, this is good. Oh, geez, I'm not sure. What do we? I don't know what we're gonna do. I said, you're gonna call a friend and have him come get us. That's what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll call a friend. He's like, yeah, call a friend and have him come get us. Well, where we have him come get us? I said, I don't. He said, look, call a tow truck. We have to call. We're on the phone. Like, what's the nearest town? There's what's the name of the little town? I can't remember the name of the little town that we found nearby, but there's all these little old mining towns that were 19th century towns and early 20th century towns that were developed in that area between Vail and Denver, and we're not far from one of them. So we call to get a tow truck to come get his car off the mountain.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, when the tow truck came, he says, could you pay for this? Now I'm in for, a battery, a tow, the whole weekend, with my buddy. And yeah, so we get the tow truck, the tow truck takes us down to this town. Surprisingly, we got off the mountain for under $200. I don't know if you've ever had a tow truck come get you from the highway, but it's generally not the most economical of expenses one would have. So, but we get down, and he's like, we go to the garage where he brings us. Luckily there's like a restaurant not far. We can walk over there. We can he calls his friend to come get us. And so yeah, my lovely little trip to the Vail International Film Festival turned into an almost life-ending experience.
Yeah.
It was a frightening thing until a pandemic showed up.
Yeah. At least you can laugh about it now.
Oh yeah, we laugh about it now. I mean, that story is rich in our friend circle of group of friends. That story is very, very rich because it's told a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you these days? What are you working on?
Right now, I've got before the COVID-19 situation put a grip on the planet. I was working on a show called The Flight Attendant for HBO. We had 4 episodes, I think, in the can, and I imagine that they'll come back with them. I mean, I haven't really heard much. We're hoping that television production can begin again at some point. There's lots of different theories. Some people say, July, August is a time maybe that it could resume. Some people are thinking more September, October, but it's going to be really quite tricky. And there's going to be a lot of different changes. Obviously, the pandemic has caused a lot of change, and hopefully we'll come out of it with some improvements for making things better, not just fixing them back to a state that kind of is, a little wobbly and rickety.
Yeah.
So that project is coming up. I've got another, my last episode of For Life on ABC, Tuesday nights, 10 o'clock here in the East. Check your local listings. I've got one more episode of that coming up because I've had a recurring character. I play this judge on that show.
Okay.
So I think that should be in May, like maybe the first couple of weeks in May or something like that. People will be able to find episode 112. But really, I hope people are watching the whole series because the series is fantastic. Really, really wonderful show. And then, I've got a film project coming up later in the year. And I just actually, during the pandemic, we had, I had a film that was released online, on demand, digital and on demand. Lazy Susan, film that I shot with stars Sean Hayes, Mark Martindale, Allison Janney, Matthew Broderick, Carrie Azili, wonderful, wonderful, hilarious cast. This is absolutely the funniest movie I've ever done. I love the film so much, and people can find Lazy Susan right now because we had planned to have a sort of a premiere event on April 3rd here in New York, screening and all that, but that got axed with the whole situation of people not being able to congregate in large groups. So, but we did have like sort of a red carpet quarantine premiere on April
Awesome.
3rd. It was a really, really fun event that Sean and his husband, Scott, put together. And you have all the members of the cast who, we all, did little chat interviews with Sean from our homes. I was right here in my studio at home.
Very cool.
But it's fun. You can find that on my Facebook, Danny Johnson. True Danny Johnson is my Facebook fan page, and a lot of people like to go there. You can find me on Twitter, True Danny Johnson, TRU, Danny Johnson, and on Instagram, TRU, Danny Johnson.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Danny, thank you so much for being on the show today, and maybe we'll have you back for another story sometime.
Yeah, man. I hope so, Travis. It was really fun. Pleasure to be with you today.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Take care.
You too. Thanks to Danny for regaling us with his tale. As always, new episodes drop right here every Tuesday and Thursday. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Our title music is Red, White, Black, and Blue by Peg and the Rejected. If you have a story you'd like to tell on the show, hit us up on our Facebook page, on Twitter at MyBestStoryShow, or via email at mybeststorypodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, go live your best life.